All right. Just wanted to check in. Good evening, Path. How are you? I just felt compelled to do a little visit this evening with the channel, the community, and all of that. Live as usual. I know it's sometimes a lot more effective to do pre-recorded videos, but for me it's like, I don't know. I just love the spontaneity. Most of the people that I watch are very serious channels, and they rarely do anything live. It's all scripted and edited and processed, and then they do all their channel management, their SEOs, their tags, and all of that stuff, which I don't do. Which is probably another reason why my little channel is the way it is. Anyway. So, oh, hello. Gosh, people are getting notifications. How freakish is that? I have lost yet more subscribers. Basically, it's a process of attrition. It's the algorithm doing what it does. I just had, you know what? Let me just check in, say, over here. Good evening. It's TarotLumination. Hi. It's Friday night, late Friday night for some of you. I just had to get a few things off my chest. Random stuff that just kept swirling around in here. And I feel that some of it is basically like universal, and some of it is very, very particular. Actually, I should have made a few notes before I even started. I just want to do one little quick story about remote viewing. Love Triber might like this. Love Triber invited me to compete in a remote viewing contest a few weeks ago. I was very reluctant. I don't like to be called upon to exercise clairvoyance and psychic remote viewing powers and all that kind of stuff in order to prove a point or something. But every now and again you get called out. Anyway, I got called out, and the whole point of the contest was that Dick and his channel, they do remote viewing, and they said, okay, we're going to hold a competition. Here's a $1,000 prize for anyone who can guess what's inside the secret box. And the little secret box is about this big, and on the outside is an old-fashioned rotating padlock with, secret numbers. So he said, okay, I want you to guess all the numbers to open the lock, and then I want you to guess and figure out what's inside by remote viewing. And he set up a special site in an email. Anyway, so I went, oh God, please, 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 no. And then Love Triber said, go on, come on, you can do this. So I was like, oh God, okay. So first thing I thought, let's numbers. I felt these numbers very strongly. 3, 17, and 22. I don't know where they came from. Anyway, I put those numbers out there, and I thought, I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me, but it's a dial, and I could see numbers on the dial, okay? And then, okay, so what's inside the box? And so I kind of went, okay, well, I can tell you immediately what I'm seeing is something very metallic, shiny. Looks like there's lots of gold with perhaps some silvery accents. I see 2 circular things. Something like that. I see some bright colors. I'm sensing like a bright metallic red, a bright sort of metallic bluish green. And I was sensing these like extension type things coming from like in the middle of the circles. So I kept thinking, what the hell is this? It doesn't make any sense to me. And then I thought, well, you know what? It's either some kind of weird exotic jellyfish in a little bowl, very colorful and sparkly, with highlights, or it's some kind of, little, one of those collectible figurines some kind, or it's like a really high-end Rolex watch. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to go for the watch, because I could see layers and layers of circles, okay, like they have on a Rolex watch. And I know some of the Rolex watches have these beautiful colorations, very metallic with gold and silver. And then I saw the straps on the side, and I thought, well, maybe it's a Rolex watch, a certain brand, okay? Name of the channel is called Crypto Viewing with Dick Allgaier. No, I didn't win anything. Anyway, so I submitted that, and then added a picture, JPEG of the watch, and then whatever it was, a week later, Dick did another show and said, "Ha! We've had some very, very interesting submissions. That some of them are getting very, very close to getting things right. But I don't want to see photographs or digital images. I want very organic stuff from you personally. I want you to write the notes and do a sketch and a drawing." I went, okay, well, what about all the color? Anyway, so at that second show, Love Triber said, well, come on, we can do this. There must be something else. And Love Triber said, well, I see a face. And I kind of went, okay, I admit it, I see a face too, but I could just call it a watch face. But I have to tell you, I also see now ears, big ears sticking out of the top of what looks like a watch face. And then she went, oh, okay. And then I said, well, what about one of your figurines, like a little person or a little Buddha? And it got more exciting, and then I kind of went, well, what about me? It looks kind of like a Disney, like Mickey Mouse doll or something. Maybe it's a Disney Mickey Mouse doll. I don't know, with bright colored paint, okay? And anyway, I sort of forgot about it. I lost interest. And then last night, I think, anyway, Love Triber found the show again, and they announced the winners. And it was kind of fun. I have to admit, it was kind of exciting. And he picked the 3 best selections from his point of view. In each selection, the 2 selections had this drawing of like a little teddy bear, a little toy teddy bear. I didn't see any circles or anything round. It just looked like a teddy bear with little arms at the side and little legs at the front and some sort of ears. And that was it. And a little smiley face. And so Dick was very impressed. And I kind of went, okay, so it's maybe a figurine, not a watch. And then another person wrote in and submitted a very similar drawing. But the arms were arranged differently, and the face was more plain, and there was some kind of circular emblem sort of nestled between the chest or tummy and the legs of this little doll. And so there was a circle like this with sort of what looked like etchings on the circle at the bottom of the... And you know what? I'm just going to... Why am I talking? Why don't I just do what I do? Hold on. Okay, let me just do this, because it's actually kind of fun, kind of exciting. So I'm going to do the outline in purple, okay? So I've already told you about the watch. I told you about the jellyfish. The watch I did looks sort of like this, with a circle and a circle like a watch. And then the straps coming off the sides like this. And there were bright colors. And I thought maybe it's a jellyfish. Anyway, the other 2 submissions were like a little teddy bear, like this. That was one submission. And the other submission was almost identical. sort of like this. One arm folded like that, and another arm like that, and a face. And this time there was like this circular thing around his feet with these sort of etchings on it. And this face is very round. And that was it. Those were the two winnings. Because what he did was he chose the top three because he couldn't do it all to one person because this was too close to this one. And the other winner was a lady who drew a sketch of the three numbers on the padlock, sort of looking like this. For each number, she drew an arrow over here, another one over here, and another one over here to indicate where the numbers would be. All right? So you can see what's going on here. And this was what I submitted. But after I had my conversation with a love triber, I explained like, well, here's where I got confused. Number one, I was very reluctant. But what I saw, this is where I got confused. I'm going to try and put all together the elements and you can see how they would combine to how I could have won. Okay? So, I'm going to use this yellow. So the colors were very strange. I saw this sort of yellowy gold circle. I saw this goldish yellow circle. I'm going to add some orange to make it, give it a bit of a golden highlight. Okay? And I saw these like silvery metallic markings in here. Okay? And I saw what I thought was like a watch face over here, you know. Didn't make any sense to me. Two circles, a watch, and another circle with another sort of a watch face, and then these sort of elements sticking out of the side. I'd gotten them from over here and here, so I thought that was a watch and maybe another, you know, like one of those flip watches or something. And so after the second conversation with Love Triber, a week or so later, we added the layer of the ears. Now, Love Tribe showed me something in black, so it looked like this. And I thought, okay, well, that would make sense, sort of like a face, which led us to start talking about a figurine. Okay? And then I kept thinking, well, what about all the color? Nobody here got any of the colors. They got the shape here. But what I found was lots and lots of gold. Let's just call this gold. Okay, over here and here. Some here. But I also got these dazzling metallic greens. Okay. Sort of like the circular thing around certain Rolex watches. And I got some of this, which was like some of the other color. And I thought that's weird because I don't know a lot of Rolex watches that just have red and green. There must be a bit of blue in there somewhere. So I kind of imagined another layer of blue there. And then in my brain I combined that and called it a watch. Because these colors here, there was a bit of color here, but mostly it was this bright sort of yellowy gold everywhere. Okay? Now, okay, do you see where I'm coming on? Okay. So what happened is, like these are like, okay, look at it this way. These are the ingredients that I saw in different, like, let's say, visuals. I saw lots of metallic red, lots of metallic green, bits of metallic blue, but the blue was very greenish blue. I saw lots of gold, orangey, shimmery gold, all over here and all over here, and the circle and a circle. But I thought the circles were actually confusing. So I thought, let's just put that circle on top of that circle, and then you have a watch with multicolored, you know. Here's an example. Let me show you something here. Here's a little watch. And this has a lot of the elements that I was sensing. But it was much more vivid in the visuals. And so when we added the word Mickey Mouse doll, okay, doll, we added the word figurine, and what was the other word we added? Oh, well, I can't remember. But anyway, like a small collectible, you know? So, this was a very strong depiction of what I saw. But this circle was a little bit more on top of this circle. But all the rest of it was basically the same. So when Dick opened up the magic safe, I'll try and sketch out what he showed. And it just so happened to be a figurine with a sort of a Mickey Mouse doll type head and face, very much along the shape of this one here. So I realized these watch straps here and here that would connect here to here were actually the arms, and the circles was the emblem here and the head here. And apparently the actual item is apparently quite a well-known Asian good luck charm that people buy and put them somewhere in the corner of their house somewhere to bring good luck. And so the most accurate thing would be here in terms of the shape, but none of these people got any of the colors. And so to give this the winning prize look, I'm just going to add a bit of orange here, a bit of orange here. But this is going to be gold, okay? Gold, 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 gold everywhere. And then a big green kind of feature over here, here. And I think there was a red feature over here around the face or something. Okay, so now, do you see the similarity between this and this? Or between all these multiple components here and how and why I went for the watch idea? Anyway, it was fun. Just wanted to share that bizarre, fun, weird little story with you. And here's an actual picture of the winning prize. Do you get it? It's nothing like a watch, but do you see this thing felt very circular? This is very circular. There's the Mickey Mouse ears. There's gold everywhere. And there's the greenish blue sheen, and then there's the red metallics. It's all very metallic. So there you go. I thought that was a very interesting situation. I'm going to put that over here. Anyway, I'm waiting to do a private meeting tonight. I've got 2 lined up actually, but it's about scheduling right now, and I got so frustrated with things in life and everything. I thought I'd better get this out before I forget about it. Anyway, the point, okay, let's have a look at it this way. Yeah, I would have won with the second drawing, even though, see, the problem is none of it made sense to me. I could not figure out a circle on top of a circle with the different items and the things coming out of the side. And when I said the word figurine, I wasn't convinced. And when I definitely saw a Mickey Mouse doll type face with big ears. Again, I was just like, well, again, it seems very random. Everything's disconnected. And so I kind of gave up. But after the great reveal yesterday, it makes me feel like, yeah, maybe if I'd really concentrated and I didn't block myself, I could have won that. And I would have had to split the winnings with Love Driver. Because she's the one who was trying to encourage the thing to happen. Anyway, so there we go. I'm going to put this aside. So that's the nearest that we're going to get to an astrodoodle for the moment. Actually, you know what? I should probably do a very brief kind of an astrodoodle. Let me think about this for a second. You know what? I just want to have a real quick rant here. This video is not monetized, okay? So it's much less likely to come under the community guidelines. My channel is still under a heavy strike watch. I can't hardly do anything. It's been like that for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it's going to keep going for another few weeks. And that's just how it is. It's very frustrating. But again, we're still here. And I haven't used any of the really controversial trigger words that shut down the videos. I had one video shut down immediately recently. But anyway, so I'm just trying to be very kind of neutral and very light and fluffy and avoid all the controversial stuff. Okay? Hello, Robin. Oh. Thank you, Path, for that encouragement. So anyway, as usual, I feel this very sort of soft kind of cocoon energy when we come to the end of a lunar cycle. And a few days ago, let's see, what's today? Friday. Okay, on Sunday when we do the show, that was the time when everything starts to go for me. It's very a personal thing because of the lunar influence. I have a significant lunar factors that I have to account for in my personal astrology. So, oh, look who just showed up. So anyway, the new moon came, the new moon eclipse. It was a very, very strange one. I don't know about you, but I noticed a lot of what I would call news events that became very kind of muted, and all the sources that I normally watch became quite muted, and all the big large-scale scandals had already been fully portrayed and conversed. So no, it's the end of the cycle. And then, as I suspected, with the Aries new moon, sun and moon conjoined at the 29th degree, there would be this energy of desperation for everybody, especially because it's very, it's because of Chiron and Aries and all of that. And 29 degrees being kind of the degree of desperation. That's how I look at it anyway. And so I saw that, and that's what I felt across the world, where humans were just acting out in desperation. People who are already screwed up and they're close to their breaking point, guess what? They broke. I'm talking about the shootings and the killers, all the muggings and the rapes and assaults and the thefts and the robberies that have just exploded all across America. It's actually happening across the world. I was watching a lot of financial stuff. It's out of control. It's like a bonfire that has been simmering, but they can't actually control the burn that's happening right now. It's kind of like these big California wildfires that we had in California last year, where it just takes one spark and it spreads and spreads, and you get to the point where you can't stop this stuff. And that's what's happening in the global financial markets. And I was saying that, well, we've got to get through this new moon eclipse first, and 2 weeks later, then we're going to have that Taurus-Scorpio full moon eclipse with the sun in Taurus and then the moon in Scorpio. And lo and behold, Love Triber shows me these folks on YouTube who are like focusing like on these aspects. They talk about it in different ways, but I try to keep it really dumbed down and simple. It's all about the global financial crisis, global restructuring that was triggered, like the arsonist. Think of it, what's that storyline from Mark Moss? The arsonist and the fireman. They're the same person. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with right now. The arsonist, think of the folks, the elites at the very, very tippity top of the 0.0001% of the global population that actually does own and control humanity effectively through the money system. It's all done through the banking system. Okay? So they've reached their own point of desperation. And as they implode, the more and more they implode, the more they are going to grasp on with the energy of desperation to survive. It's literally life and death right now for the people at the very, very, very top. So what happens when you're in a state of life and death, which is basically war, they are at war with we the people. We the people are who are being harvested, exploited, farmed by the elites for their benefit. Neil McCoy calls it extraction, the extraction of value and wealth to go to the elites at the very, very top. And it's been an incredibly successful journey for the elites since 1913. And here we are, 110 years later. It's reached it's maxed out, and they can't really take it any farther. And like all cyclical things, we've reached this point, and it's going to go. So, the way that the elites, okay, sorry, let me backtrack a little bit here. Eclipse followed by eclipse. We just had the eclipse the other day, and it was a very strange one to me personally, because I could feel all the outrage in the individuals across Earth, individual people, Aries, the self, the personhood, our sovereign self, and the insult that humanity, all the individuals that compose humanity, and how they are being completely raped and abused and assaulted and insulted and harvested like disposable cattle. No compassion, no empathy for the benefit of the elites. And so when the elites come out of their desperation to get done what they have to do, it's just sort of like a hand-to-hand combat. Eventually, the enemy becomes so close that you can't not see them. So what I noticed across Earth is this explosion in awakening where billions of people are starting to realize what we've already known for years, that we are being trashed by the elites for their benefit. And of course they look very important, and they have very important titles and all that kind of stuff, and we're supposed to believe in them. But again, their method of operation is the global financial system. So in essence, what we right now have is a currency war. Multiple currencies against the US dollar, for example. The US dollar is in a state of absolute desperation to hold on to its pinnacle of power. And just like happens with pack animals, eventually the leader grows old and dies and withers, and a new regime occurs. But it means having to take out the old dog. Okay, the old dog is not going to go down easily. And with Pluto-type energy, since this is mythological and, allegorical, we're looking at the symbolic death of America, the symbolic death of the United States dollar, and it will be reborn in a new form. And it's going to be a 20-year journey Some of it's going to be very warlike and very painful over the next 20 years. Right now, if you look at the charts, we've got this massive cluster of planets all around the Aries-Taurus sector. So it's like a real gravitational squash. We've just come out. It was very interesting following the charts very closely. You could see the Aries new moon eclipse. The moon conjoined with the sun, 29 and 29.5 degrees. And within a few hours, it changes to the Taurus sun and a Taurus moon. But it's not a new moon, because that's 4 weeks from now. So we're already deep into the theme of global finance, and it's going to accelerate and expand over the next 2 weeks. And I guarantee all the financial and money channels that I study, they're going to be sounding alarm bells, like, watch out everybody, it's falling apart. It's a controlled demolition, of course. It's happening in slow motion, like icebergs melting and things like that. But it is a slow process because it's primarily timed around the Pluto cycles. So it's very big and slow compared to lunar cycles, which are very, very fast. But either way, they're happening. So anyway, I find all of this very intriguing, and because I'm effectively outside of the system, I can observe what's happening with relative peace and calm, knowing well in advance that this is inevitable. And there's going to be a lot of tragedy, a lot of pain worldwide. It's already happening. If you look over Africa, Central America, South America, all the tropical countries around the equator, India, Pakistan, Nepal, Myanmar, Indonesia, even Hong Kong. It's financial chaos, okay? There are some sparkly moments, like India is really enjoying a positive aspect of the cycle where a lot of free trade, manufacturing, and all that kind of stuff is starting to migrate towards India and some of the Southeast Asian countries, while the Chinese economy, export economy, is imploding from the inside out. So again, global restructuring, January 2020. That's when the arsonist lit the fire. Okay? So who is the fireman? It's the same thing. The arsonist and the fireman. Which is which? They are the same person, the same entity. The very, very people who lit the fire, committed the arson, are the very people who are saying, vote for me and I will save you. We are the banks. We are the lords of the universe. We are the masters of humanity. Just do what we say. Okay? Or else. So that's what's happening right now. This massive surge in tyranny, tyrannical totalitarianism, Marxist extremism, dictatorships is coalescing all over the world. And that's normal. That's to be expected with the Pluto cycle. Extreme aberrations in power. Extreme simplicity and separations between yes, no, black, white, on, off, communist or freedom. Are you for communism or are you for freedom? Which is it? Pick. Because you're going to have to pick, because the polarity is becoming very extreme and there is going to be a fight. Okay, let's just put it that way. It's inevitable. So that's why a lot of the financial channels and the prepper channels are all sending out alarm bells. Prepare yourself, okay? Do whatever you have to do. Some people say things like, put your house in order. It's up to you what that means to you. Some people preach things like, get out of debt. Get rid of all your debt. Buy gold, buy silver, buy land. Go way up into the mountains and the jungles and the forests. Get away from the cities so we can avoid all the nuclear bombs. All that stuff, okay? Hello, Indigo. Thank you, Path Traveler, by the way, for doing pest control. Excellent job. So, anyway, it's very, very... It's just very interesting to me to witness all this stuff in a way that it's so predictable. There are people who obviously don't want this to happen. For example, let's say you're at the very, very tippity top, the pinnacle of power. That's the Bank of International Settlements. And let's say you're part of the other members just below that, which would be these other central banks across the world, including the Federal Reserve. And then let's say you're also a member of things like the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the Club of Rome, the, what do they call them, Convention of Foreign Relations, something or other. All these global, non-elected entities that operate from like these intellectual concepts about how the world should be according to their theories and their ideology, which are very divorced from what I would call three-dimensional, mundane, boring reality. What they're trying to do is defy reality. A lot of what they do is based on systemic fraud, deception, lies, betrayal, theft, abuse, crime, all the very, very saddest, most unhealthy, sick expressions of the Neptune vibes, okay? That's where they are. That's where they come from. That's who they are. That's how they are. They're no different from your local, let's say, high-up official with a lot of credentials and big social persona. But when they go back home, they turn into a wife beater. They have incest with their kids, and they're disgusting. And they share pornography with their other elite perverts. So there are these very disparate worlds going on simultaneously. And then there's just a lot of, ordinary people who are just trying to stay alive. They just want to be happy. They want to be with their pets, their boyfriends, their girlfriends, their children, their family. They want a job. They want to be healthy and then prosper. But to have the energy of the sovereign self, imagine that. Sovereign self. Is that possible? Yes. Think of Chiron in Aries. That is the wounded healer. That is the wounded sovereign self. It's now apparent that out of 8 billion people, 7.999999999 billion people are very wounded, harmed in terms of their sovereign self. But the other folks at the very, very top are very, very, let's say, flushed with all the stuff that they lust after, power, money, and control, because they've been at it for a long time and they have amassed incredible power, money, and control. But that, just like the waves in the ocean, that thing is imploding and collapsing because it's all built on lies. Remember, money is what you believe it to be. Money is a belief system. Money is a concept. And these folks have done an incredible job of making humanity believe that money is a certain thing. And most of us, including myself, fell for it for most of my life, okay? So anyway, it's all coming unraveled, and we're going to see it unraveling in real time this year, 2023. This eclipse is going to be a big one in 2 weeks from now, where it's going to be unavoidable global headlines in the financial world that we are looking at an apocalyptic implosion of some kind. It's not going to be like that. It'll be more of a the most common way people are describing it is the death of the dollar, the death of the United States dollar, and the birth of alternative currencies, the birth of other multiple reserve currencies, the birth of digital ledger technology that allows peer-to-peer money, where you don't even need banks, you don't even need the SWIFT system. Can you imagine that? Just blow off the elites completely. They're absolutely terrified. That's money. That's real money. Things like people who buy and sell gold, barter land, things like that. But anyway, the point is it's happening right now in real time. We're seeing the death of a global crime syndicate. And some of the people are very famous, very ugly, nasty criminals. And a good bunch of them are right here in the United States, in Washington, D.C. There's plenty more outside, but anyway, they're all working on this thing to try and take over humanity and run it from a perspective of a singular point of control at the very, 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 very top. And one of their tools and mechanisms that they will be implementing this year is central bank digital currencies. Now you can do the research on that as well. But here's another thing that just got exposed, primarily to me from Love Triber, and then it was endorsed the other day by Mark Moss, but those are the only two places that I've seen it. But it's something called Unicoin. And Unicoin is the name that they have dubbed this secondary kind of universal currency that supposedly will be able to interchange between all other currencies on Earth. And it will either supplement or replace the SWIFT exchange system. And again, this has all been planned out for years, but this year it's now the implementation. The problem is with implementation is that for the elites to implement this thing, this means they have to bring this tool, this mechanism, this newly structured belief system, which operates in a very similar way to the Chinese CBDC, with the social, whatever you call it, social credit score system, where the currency, the money system, is no longer a means of exchange. It's actually a control mechanism operated from the very, 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 very tippity top of the global elite's banking system. It all goes through the banking system. The real war that's happening across planet Earth right now is a currency war, or currency wars. There's the United States, and then there's everybody else. It's warfare, but everybody on Earth is affected. We're going to see it play out. Some of the obvious symptoms, some of the behaviors that the elites use to try and keep their game going is to print more money, print more money, print more money, mess around with interest rates, low rates, issue massive amounts of loans and debts. And it's all a massive charade. And what's happened is they've reached the end of the end of the end of the game. So the game it's collapsing. So we're at that point. It's history in slow motion. We are alive now, and we're going to witness it. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. It's going to stretch out, and once the Taurus-Scorpio eclipses are completely over, we're going to start to move into, the Aries-Libra eclipses, which I think is going to be very much more to do with personal matters once humanity realizes, wow, this is personal. It's not just other people's money or my bank, or it's about me. My life is about me. And everything that's wrong, all the pain as a wounded healer, all the wounding of the Aries self has to come from somewhere. Of course, there's a lot of self-sabotage, but a tremendous amount of the wounding and damage was imposed externally. And that's going to become obvious across the world. And that's why there are so many, literally millions and millions of people protesting up in arms and going into chaotic rage against their leaders, their societal structures. Because people are saying enough is enough is enough. And the thing is that desperate people do desperate things. So the people who are really, really acting out are the ones that are really, really damaged. And they're acting out of its survival. It's either fight or flight. And some of them are choosing to fight, and they're just going absolutely ballistic. So we're going to see that violence accelerate and expand across the world. Also, here's another weird, let me go to my charts a minute. See if I can find this. I'll go over here. Another thing is like, we talked about this a few weeks ago. So here we are today right now. What is this, the 21st? Okay, that's where we just had the Aries new moon, and instantaneously we turned into the Taurus sun with a Taurus moon, and instantaneously Mercury flips retrograde in Aries. That's not too much fun. And then, look, it looks so innocent here, okay? But just in a matter of moments, matter of days, we're already in the shadow phase. Kerblam! Pluto is going retrograde for the next few months, to pretty much to the end of the year. That's going to creep back into the Pluto in Capricorn at 29.5 degrees mark and down to 28, perhaps even to, let me just check. Yeah, back to the 29. So we're everything that I just brought into focus tonight, we're going to be dealing with this for the rest of the year. It's just the intense pressure, the 29.5 degree mark. Now, if you look at, hold on. If you've watched my channel for a long time, you'll understand part of what I'm saying. If you look at the 29 degree mark of Pluto in Capricorn, that is the moment of desperation. It's not a singular moment like a couple of days or hours. It goes on for like 2 or 3 years, okay? Started in January 2020. That's when the arsonists dropped their bomb for the bonfire, and now the arsonists are claiming to be the firemen, and they're going to save you. Okay? So anyway, what we're going to see with Pluto in Capricorn for the rest of the year is actually, as we retrograde, it's going to be a month or so while Pluto's still in Aquarius, but it's still going to drift over the cusp back into Pluto in Capricorn. We're going to see the energy of desperation. Absolute desperation. The way the desperation is going to be expressed by the elites is you'll start to realize that these people are out of their freaking minds. And you can't suppress it anymore with extreme media censorship, because it's so big and it's so bad. Somebody has to report on it somewhere. There's going to be a lot of exposure of crime, and that's already happening in America with the very, very top people who in the administration that's so-called running this country right now. That's going to stretch on for the rest of this year. They won't be able to find justice because it's going to drag out and drag out. And then 2024, we're not even close to there yet. But as Pluto retrogrades back to 28 degrees Capricorn, it's going to be desperation of more imposition of control, and it's going to be done through the global political and banking systems, okay? Eventually, Pluto's going to go the other way again and back to Aquarius, where we're going to get the energy of AI revolutions and surges in the need and desire for humanity to operate at a community level where we all are part of what they call the family of man. Well, it's actually women as well, but the human beings, okay? People. We the people. America and the Patriot movement here is really just a tiny, tiny fraction of the human population. But in the United States, we have this thing called the Constitution, which is unique across the world, especially items numbers 1 and 2. Freedom of speech and the right to protect and defend ourselves in case our freedom of speech is abridged, and so on. And so all of that is going to be heavily accentuated in 2024 when the political battles and the banking battles are going to be full on. All the people who want war are going to get closer and closer to actual hot war. Hot war would include the banking currency wars, but also guns and bullets, okay? It's like a massive tinderbox out there, just like the California fires last year. There's vast amounts of unburnt fuel that is just ready to spark like that, okay? We'll look at that as we go along. But Uranus, Pluto in Aquarius, obviously there's going to be a strong Uranus theme. And Uranus has some of its characteristics are to do with like shock, explosions, lightning, just like uncontrolled, spontaneous eruptions of energy, okay? And that's going to permeate across the world. And I personally believe that billions of people are going to rise up and say, you know what? We want a constitution like the United States. We want the right to bear arms and to protect ourselves from our so-called elected leaders, which we have all now discovered and realized are a bunch of effing criminals who have totally abused what they call an electoral system. It's all fake lies, okay? And so I believe there's going to be a movement, a revolutionary movement towards the direction of freedom, screaming for freedom, okay? Which means trying to put a stop to tyranny. Freedom is the enemy of tyranny. Tyranny is the enemy of freedom. Pick a side. I know where I want to be, and I feel very, very, very fortunate in my particular situation. But on a global scale, there are billions of people who are extremely vulnerable to the abuse of the elites that's coming. And there's going to be a lot of pain and suffering. And what comes with that is desperation. Desperate people do desperate things. And the people at the top, the way they deal with that is suppression, which can look very violent and ugly and sort of like war or internal war or civil war, those kinds of themes. So if you go back 250 years, there were a lot of wars before 1776 as the United States was formulating itself into a defined thing called the United States, and they had the Declaration of Independence. So it was a finite, fully conscious thing. And then a few years later, they had the Bill of Rights, which basically laid out their 10 commandments or their 13 commandments or their mission statement or their rules of operation. This is how we're going to run the country. And the country is ours. And the people who so-called run it, we're going to elect them to do what we elect them to do for us, we the people. Now, of course, if you look at America, you'll realize that that has been completely subverted and destroyed. That's gone, okay? America is that close to turning into like a socialist, Marxist, Canadian type thing. It's very, very scary to me. It's not going to happen, so don't worry. But the elites want that to happen. That's what they want. And enemy number one. Guess who is enemy number one to the elites? It isn't America. It isn't the American dollar. It's American patriots who abide by the Constitution. So, how do they take us out? That's the question. It's going to get weird. We'll see what happens. Oh, Dr. Shiva. I don't know about Dr. Shiva, Iwona. There's a lady who I thought who disappeared, but her name is Marianne Williamson. She is running for president. She's running as an independent. So there's going to be Donald and his thing going on. Then there's going to be the other folks who are going to run against Donald. Then there's going to be the other party that's going to run against Donald. And the other party's going to have this guy Gavin probably as their figurehead. It's very disturbing. And then there's going to be a few independents in the middle. Marianne Williamson is one of them. You might recognize her name. She's written all sorts of books about love. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be fascinating to have a woman president whose main theme is love, compassion? Who knows? Maybe it'll work. Anyway, I hope I didn't scare anybody. I've got to get on with this meeting. I'm hoping I can get this meeting sorted out tonight. I haven't heard back yet, but I'll see. Let me just check. Anyway, I better wrap it up now. I don't want to take any more of your evening. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. Have a super, super time. Dr. Shiva. Wow, really? Okay. Fascinating. Fascinating. Thank you for that one, Iwona. I have to be very careful with my throat. It's been very sensitive lately, and I still have several readings to do. Okay, I'm going to try to do this trick tonight where I actually stop the streaming with the studio here. And how am I going to do this? Because I don't... Actually, it's not critical because we're not doing an actual live reading at the moment. But what I've noticed is that YouTube shuts down the stream in a way that is not coinciding with the moment that I choose to say goodnight and goodbye. So we're going to experiment and see what happens. So I'm going to basically say goodnight now. I'm going to close down the live show. And then I'm going to watch and observe how YouTube shuts down the show on their side of the technology. Okay? Take care, everybody. Look after yourselves. Be loving. Be loved. Okay? Bye-bye.